Okay, so this evening, as requested, I'm doing a presentation for you all on top study tips. And I've been in the same situation as you guys. I've actually completed 2 full diplomas now through the academy. So I do empathise, to start with, it's a new language that we're learning, it's new skill sets that we're learning, and it can be very overwhelming at the start. But trust me, just trust the process and you will get through this. So I'm going to share with you my top study tips. And at the end, I'm going to open this up and hold a group discussion with you all, because you'll all have your way of doing things and perhaps we can learn from each other. Okay. Okay, so I have dived into one of the courses that I completed just to show you what we have available on each course. So when you log in, you should be able to see in your welcome and introduction section that you also have an assessment overview so that you can familiarise yourself with what is expected of you. So, for example, this one's got a course dissertation in there, which gives you an overview of how many words that are required for that course dissertation. There's also multiple choice assessments within this one, what case studies they are, course exercises, essays, etc. Now, this is it's a PDF, this is available on all the courses. It's a good idea that you print this out, because you can tick this off as you're going along. Therefore, you're going to feel more organised, you're going to feel focused, and you're going to get that sense of achievement as you've gone through each part of the course. Okay, so the reason why I've just showcased that PDF is because some of you will be new to the Life Coaching Academy, and it's really good to familiarise yourself with the course and the course modules, and just know that you can dive back into each module that you may have covered again and again, because what they've done at Life Practice Academy is we've made everything evergreen. So if there's ever any updates, we're going to add them to your modules as well. So do keep an eye out for that. So it's really good to familiarise yourself with your course modules. Okay, learning styles. So of course, one of the best ways to learn is to understand what your main modality, learning modality is. Is it that you might be more visual, or perhaps you're more auditory or kinesthetic? So we use what we call the VACOG, the VAKOG questionnaire, to find out about your learning style. And this is available for you on the course as a printout, and you'll see that to go through as one of your exercises. So we call the world that we express ourselves internally and externally. So the way that you see the world, feel the world, hear things around you will be very different to the person next to you, because we all have our unique learning styles. So NLP says that for most circumstances and most people, 4 of the 5 sensory-based modes seem to dominate in mental processing. So you have your visual thinking, your auditory, which is your sound, speech, dialogue, white noise, and your kinesthetic, feeling, sensory. So people who like to maybe make models of things to understand how things are put together and work. Then you've got self-talk, which is audio internal, those that tend to mutter to themselves. The other 2 senses, we've got taste, and then we've got olfactory, which is smell. And they're both really closely associated, but they're less significant when we're talking about general mental processing. So looking at this just a little bit more, you can tell if you're visual, because people who are visual often, they'll stand or sit with their heads or bodies erect, so that they'll sit quite tall or stand quite tall with their eyes up. they'll be breathing from the top of their lungs, and they often sit forwards in their chair and tend to be really organized people. They're neat, they're well groomed, and very orderly. They memorize by seeing pictures and are less distracted by noise. And they often have trouble remembering verbal audio instructions because their minds tend to wander. If you're more auditory, you will find that people will tend to move their eyes sideways, and particularly when you're talking to them, they may appear they're being a bit rude because as they're listening, they tend to tilt their heads as well, and they're not actually looking at you. You'll find that a lot with auditory people. And they breathe as well from the middle of their chest, and they typically will talk to themselves and are easily distracted by noise. They can repeat things back to you easily, and they learn by listening and usually like music and talking on the phone. They memorize by steps and procedures and sequences, quite often very analytical. The auditory person likes to be told how they're doing and respond to a certain tone of voice or set of words. And they'll be interested in what you have to say about anything that you're doing. So I've put here, for example, about your program. Kinesthetics, so feelings, getting involved, they'll be typically breathing from the bottom of their lungs. So you'll see their stomach go in and out as they breathe. And these people, they often move and talk, I've put very slowly, and they respond to physical rewards and touching. And they also stand closer to people than a visual person would as well. And they memorize things by getting involved and actually walking through something. And then you've got your auditory internal, which is your self-talk. And this person will spend a fair amount of time talking to themselves. They want to know if your program makes sense. So is it logical? Does it follow a structure? The auditory internal person can exhibit characteristics of other major representational systems. So basically, we're going to find out the best way for ourselves to process the information that we're learning. And you will find when you go through the VACOG that you're going to be a mixture of the different learning modalities, but one will stand out more than the other, usually. So I found these really interesting. I got these from Google, and I thought that we could get some hints and tips from these. So let me just move our video out of the way. So we've got the auditory learner on the left, and we've got the visual learner on the right. So you can see here we've got the characteristics of the auditory learner and the learning tips on the right-hand side. So we've got hears to learn, likes listening, they're a good talker, they're a bit of a chatterbox, and what perhaps that they might struggle with. And then we've got the learning tips, like I say, on the right. And then if you have a look over at the visual, you can see the characteristics. They like images, they like to take notes, and what they struggle with, and some learning tips there on the right. So I thought that was a really good visual representation of how an auditory and a visual learner will learn. So in general, in the general population, the distribution of the three learning styles is actually 65% of us are more visual learners. Then we've got 30% of us are auditory. So we like to listen to the sound of things. So we may, instead of reading a book, we're more likely to go on audio. Amazon, they do an audio, don't they, where you can download their books and listen to them. But only 5% of the general population are kinesthetic. So when we're learning, quite often we'll find a few different things that are going to help us. But if you predominantly go with what your main modality is, your learning modality, you're going to learn things an awful lot quicker. Okay, so the earlier you start working on something, the earlier you're going to see results. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And the reason why I just popped those two quotes up there is because when we're starting something new, it can seem really overwhelming. And it's all about taking baby steps at first. And it's better to take one step than no step at all, because eventually you're going to climb those steps and you're going to reach that goal. Okay, so we've got step one, study buddies. Okay, why should we have a study buddy? A study buddy helps you learn. They help you to discover areas that you need to focus on and helps you to cut down on the amount of studying you have to do on your own. Having a study buddy provides an opportunity to share your knowledge, giving you another perspective or level of insight and broadening your understanding of the course readings and materials. Sharing study techniques can also introduce you to more efficient ways to study and improve your productivity. Staying motivated is one of the biggest challenges when studying on online courses. So having a study buddy means you can motivate each other and make the whole experience a lot more fun. So basically you can both agree with weekly goals, discuss which modules that you're doing, because some of them are very similar, whether it's a level 4 or a 5 or a 6. You're all going to share at least the practitioner levels in all those courses. You could even come up with a reward scheme when you both reach a goal. And study buddies as well can work on joint study projects. So of course you can practice clinical hypnotherapy on each other, you can practice NLP techniques on each other. And you can do all this online, of course. And you are much more likely to keep a schedule if there's two of you instead of one. Okay, step 2, have a study plan. Now, a study plan helps to eliminate confusion because you've developed a clear way forwards. You've got your objectives and you've got a clear action plan. It also gives you a sense of direction, so you feel more organised. So feels organised and in control because a proper plan will involve thorough understanding of the course or syllabus. You can set yourself targets as well, and the achievement of each target provides that motivation to carry on because you're going to achieve that area that you're studying and you're going to want to find out more and learn more. And very soon one starts enjoying the process because the concepts become clearer and your understanding improves. So the more you learn something and you go over it, you might go over the course handouts or you may watch the videos. You can then start maybe going on YouTube and watching some more videos of the techniques, because what you're going to find with NLP is everybody uses the technique very differently. And eventually you will find your own way of doing the techniques, but the basics are always there when you watch these different videos. Your priorities will become clear and the level of importance and effort can be directed to the learning of each subject. Work does not get accumulated and hence there is no need to study at unearthly hours. This also safeguards your physical and mental health. So by organising what time you're going to study, whether you're a morning person or afternoon or evening, you can allocate that certain time, maybe that 60 minutes to 90 minutes every day or every other day, and keep that schedule. And then you don't feel that overwhelm and panic doesn't start setting in because you've actually stuck to that schedule because you've made it realistic for yourself. So challenges, okay, so briefly touched on that. So setting realistic targets. Because if you set over ambitious targets, you're only going to cause disappointment, and you're just going to feel really deflated because it's not realistic. So make those goals smart when you set up your study plan. And once a plan is in place, stick to it as much as you can and avoid the company of those who have a careless attitude. Least but not least, no study plan can be successful if it's not followed and executed. Okay, create a schedule. Here we go. So with a schedule, you can place the calendar or your printed schedule in a visible location so that it's easy to see and to follow. You might have this printed out on your desk if you've got an at-home office, or maybe you've got it on your fridge, but have it somewhere where you're going to see it all the time so that you can cross it off, highlight what you're going to do. That's a good tip as well. Use a pencil so that it's easy to make changes if needed. And don't create a schedule that's overly rigid or that isn't flexible enough to accommodate emergencies or any conflicts that may arrive. And schedules should be created so that the study times are consistent. And that will help create positive study habits. And we know when learning new habits that it takes approximately 90 days to create that new habit. Habits are something that we're doing repetitively. So as long as we keep doing it over and over again, it can turn into a new habit for us, which will keep us going. But yeah, they do take time to form, but just keep doing it. And be consistent and persistent, and then that will keep you motivated. And eat healthily as well, because poor eating habits can lead to fatigue, to tiredness, and an inability to concentrate. Schedule study time in a location that has minimal distractions or interruptions. So it's a really good idea to set up your own study space if you have the space to allow you to do that. And then I've got here as well, study, should I put module, one module at a time, for no more than 2 hours, but we all have different levels of concentration. I usually say between 60 to 90 minutes. Some people can do 2 hours. And again, it depends what works for you when you're more focused and you're more alert. And then you could color code your schedules as well. So you could have like going to read for 2 hours and have that as one block of color, or 1 hour in the evening, whenever that's right for you. Or when you're going to demonstrate and practice any techniques. So this is an example. I did this a couple of years ago of a schedule that I used to have. I have this available on my Google Drive if anybody wants it, but you can just set it up nice and easily. Have your weekdays just at the top there. And I've done it by hour slots, and then you can just fill in. So you might have some activities or work commitments, and you can slot them in there and really work out what's a good time for you to be able to focus on your studies. And again, it doesn't have to be rigid, so you can swap and change it, because something might work for you really well one week, and then perhaps maybe it didn't work the second week. So just change it until it works for you. So sticking with a study schedule is just as important as creating one. So no one creates a schedule with the intent to ignore it, but unfortunately, it can be far too easy to do just that. If a schedule is too intense and offers little downtime, you may find it too difficult to adhere to, or you may become susceptible to easy distractions. So it's important to ensure that there is time for social, that there is time for any work commitments for your children, or any physical activities such as working out and keeping fit and healthy, in addition to your study. And that then will create balance, because you don't want to find yourself studying too much, because we can only take in so much information at any time. So again, it's working at that time where you know that you can easily absorb that new information as you're learning it. So it's just a quote there. I find that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. Okay, focus. So for every 50 to 60 minutes of study time, plan a 10 to 15-minute break. So give yourself a little break in between. And when taking a break, you can perhaps get yourself a little snack for an energy boost. Or you can be active, take a short walk, take the dog for a walk, or walk around the block just to get some fresh air, to rebalance your oxygen levels and hype yourself up to do some more study. Or you can listen to your favourite songs as well. I used to listen to music when I was studying for motivation. Rewards for sticking to a schedule can be given at the end of a study day. So reward yourself, give yourself maybe that little bit of chocolate or a glass of wine. And study time should be scheduled for a time when you're the most focused and alert, which we've already covered. And you will find that some of you will be more alert at night time, night owls, than you would be in the morning. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's no right or wrong way to study. It's up to each of you as an individual. So step 5, motivation. Okay, so acknowledge your resistance and difficult feelings with motivation. It might be helpful to write these feelings or thoughts down and then leave these on the side so that you can then study. Do not run away. Avoiding work can make you feel deflated. This is emotionally more draining than having to go through the frustration of reading for your paper. So do not blame yourself for procrastinating. Become aware of the habit and gently make yourself to go back to the task sooner rather than later. So if you find yourself feeling deflated and you find yourself procrastinating, look back at the work, or maybe start a different module. But the way that we've done the modules is you need to go through each one. But if you get stuck, just go back and rerun through the work that you've already done, which will help trigger you to remember what it is that you've done, and hopefully give you that motivation. Also, you'll see this in a few more slides. Just remember your reason why you're doing this. You know, what is it going to give you at the end of it, and who you're going to become. So try to understand your studying style better, which we covered right at the beginning, that learning style, because it makes it easier for you to work. Okay, don't question your abilities and don't put yourself down by comparing yourself to others. So if you feel that you started the course at the same time as someone else and maybe they're further ahead than you, do you know what? That's okay. We've all got different commitments. So don't put yourself down, just stay on your own learning path and your own learning journey. And as long as you're making progress, whether that's baby steps or giant leaps, that's okay. The best thing about our online learning platform is that you can decide how much energy and how many hours you're going to put into the course. So you can visualize yourself starting. You can make yourself sit down and work, even if this is just for 20 minutes. Focus on the task at hand and prioritize on the most important tasks. So if there's essays to write or a dissertation that you need to write, as long as you've gathered the information and enough knowledge to be able to complete those are the big tasks generally on the course that need to be completed. So maybe get some of those out of the way, and you can then focus your energies on to actually learning the techniques. Because as much as knowledge is really important, it's being able to practice the techniques as much as possible so that we become a really good practitioner. And communicate to others if you are having any difficulties, so that you can get some help and support from other students through your, maybe you've buddied up, and they can help you with that process and identify the important tasks. And communication can help you to commit with immediate goals, and you could also find out others' points of views and tips. Take time limited approach in which you schedule your tasks. Ask yourself, how much can I achieve in the next 2 hours? Instead of, can I actually complete all the tasks? Can I do this? In this way, you will not get as easily overwhelmed by the volume of study that you need to do. And all our modules, we break them down into sizable chunks so that we try and limit the amount of overwhelm that you can feel when you're doing an online course, which is one of the reasons why our courses work so well. And remember that studying can be challenging and can take you out of your comfort zone. And that's okay too, because until we learn to come out of our comfort zone, that's when we really grow as a person. That's when we're learning something new. So if you think about the hiking of Kilimanjaro, it is not easy and can even be uncomfortable. But the pleasure comes when you begin to see the view from height and you feel that fresh air. And when you reach the destination, you get a sense of achievement and satisfaction. So focus on the outcome and not the struggle to get there. Step 6, your reason why. So this worked really well for me when I was going through the diplomas. And if ever I got stuck, I would ask myself these questions. What's the reason why you're doing this course? What will completing this course give you? How do you want to feel by completing the course? What is your motivation behind your why? That's a really good one. And does the reason why align with your values? Because your values are your motivator, that reason behind your why. So those values should really be in line with that motivations to help you to complete that course. So the purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. Okay, and then I'm going to open up a discussion on some learning tips from you all, because you may have some really valuable tips to share to other students. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll just put some mics back on, but Karen, I think you'll have to do that for me.
Well done, Hayley.
Well done, Hayley. That was really, really good. It really broke it down into such good chunks. Shows how you really do have to take it step by step, don't you? Okay, have we got any questions out there at all? Who would like to go first?
Well, I haven't got any questions, but I'd like to sort of add
Yeah, Jason, what tips have you got to share?
I would say, and a bit of what Hayley said is break down your learning into 3 core elements. Or think about what's the knowledge you need to obtain. So you do a little bit of study, don't do too much and overload your thinking. Have a go or look at a demonstration. So the great thing about the courses is that I'll learn a little bit and then I'll look at a video and I understand how that plays into the learning. So you've got your cognitive, then your psychomotor element. And then the big key one, back on the last bit of the slide of Hayley's there, is the purpose, is the effective side. It's understanding how do I internalize this? How do I feel about this? How can I see myself doing this? So, and then one of the big things that I found helpful for me is having a study group. So we linked into other gang on the group, and we practice on each other. But we have good discussions. So where we have, for the group that I'm in at the moment, there's 2 students and 1 graduate. We also talk about how we feel or how we make these techniques work for us. So it's understanding what some of the pitfalls and what some of the issues and barriers you might come across. So it's good to talk to other people to say, if you feel a bit, oh, I'm not getting this, and then someone else says, actually, I didn't get it, but I tried this. And then it makes you feel, right, I'm not alone in this. I can see how I can make it work. And it's just understanding that you're not alone is the key. Because when you're sat at a computer just studying away, it's not always a great thing. So one of the other things I would say as a big tip is make your learning work for you and find things that you find enjoyable. So one of the things that before we had lockdown, or where you can, is you get one of the recommended reading books, go and have a coffee, and then get away from the computer, just sit and read some of the research, and then just enjoy a bit of time out, make some notes while you're there, and you come back and have a light bulb moment and go, I'll think about that. I'll put one of my essays on that. And that just adds a bit of fun to your learning as well, or have a discussion with other people. I mean, I've had some great discussion with friends and families who look at me quite strange and say, don't you come near me with your voodoo sort of stuff and that sort of business. But then they go, oh, I see what you're saying. And then that good conversation, it gets you thinking, well, how do I express this, what I've learned, for other people who are not involved to understand what I'm saying? And it just helps to chat it out with other people. So the reality is, I think, just learn a little bit, but have a go and just practice stuff and just keep having a go with it in a safe environment, and it will start to come. And as sort of Hayley talked about, is that just get some chunking going with your essays, do a little bit. I think when you prioritize and say to yourself, I've got all this work that's going on in my room and every day of my life, but today is my day, but I have true expectation of how much I'm going to achieve today. I just want to get that little bit done, that little bit done. If I get anything more done, it's all a bonus. So if you have that simple expectation, and you'll just get one little paragraph done, another paragraph done, and it will start chip away and it will start to go. But that's all shot up now, but that's it from me.
That's great. No, that's really, really good, Jason. And you've been a recent student and nearly at the graduate stage. So you're at the end of your journey really as a student, aren't you? So it's very fresh in your mind.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Would anyone else like to add, or a tip, or ask a question?
I can add to that. I think everything Jason said makes absolute sense, and I agree. And I think for me, the thing that I found is I set my week up on a Sunday or something on the weekend, and I just think about what's realistic for that week. Because what I find is that every week is different, and there are weeks when I do almost nothing. And at first I found that really frustrating, but that happens sometimes. That's life, isn't it? Things get in the way. And so it's learning to deal with those things. Other weeks I can do loads. I'm trying to set my expectations on a Sunday, ready for the week ahead. I've got a little whiteboard and I write on it what it is I'm going to achieve this week. And it might just be, I don't know, I'm going to do one section of a dissertation, or I'm going to practice one technique, or whatever it might be, but I'll always just write it down on a Sunday. It sits in my home office, I can see it every day, and then by the following week I know I've done it. And I found that really, really useful. And I think the other thing, that study buddies are brilliant. I did some hypno practice on some friends, which is really good of them. It was great, and they enjoyed it. But their feedback was completely positive, which was lovely. But also I knew it was completely unrealistic because I'm still learning. There had to be something that I could learn from. And so I did a study session last week. I did a practice with Sabahat. So Kieran was on that call as well. And that was great because I got proper feedback. So the study groups are really useful because you'll get the feedback that you really need, and not just your friends telling you you're amazing, which is lovely, and it gives you a bit of a boost. You get the real nitty-gritty of what it is you need to practice on something. That's really, really important, because otherwise you could miss some little details. And I learned a lot from that session with Sabahat last week. And I put together a plan from it, and I know that would be good for me over the next 2 or 3 weeks when I sort of put it into action. So definitely practice with people that are doing something similar, because they can give you that valuable feedback, and it's definitely important.
Yeah, and I was just going to add to that on the study groups. If you're on the Facebook group, just put a question up as a post. Would anyone like to join as a study buddy group? I think that's how you guys all found each other, wasn't it? There was a post up that one of you had put up, and then you all sort of collaborated together on that post through the commenting. So if anyone is interested in a study buddy, just put a post on the Facebook group and somebody will answer you. Someone out there, you're all over the place. So whilst we've got Zoom going, it works very well. I mean, you've done all of this on Zoom, I presume, Jason and Matthew, with your study groups. Yeah,
it's been ideal.
Yeah.
Can I do a bit of a shameless plug as well? Monica's little book of helpfulness is a really good little tip you take anywhere, just for a quick 2-minute, just quick refresh, and oh yeah, just to keep a bit of a thing, and a simplified version of some of the techniques, which I found really useful. Sorry, Monica, a bit of a plug.
If anyone would like to know any more about Monica's little book of helpfulness, again, ask on the Facebook group and she'll tell you all about it.
Yes, I will.
I think there's a couple of some really good stuff coming out. I think it's important to remember there are CAM coaching and all of these courses, they're big courses, all of them. So level 4, 5 and 6, there's lots to do. And that's deliberate because we're now going through a massive surge of sign-offs every week. And the quality of the people that are going through those sign-offs is incredible. So hypothetically, around a year ago, people were signing up for these things, and a year down the line, they're delivering NLP and life coaching in Hypno as good as I've ever seen it. So although the courses are big and they're varied, the more you chunk it down and don't overdo it. Remember, you've got 2 hours of brain power in any one session to be effective. If you go on after that, most people won't retain anything. So it's important that you bite-sized chunks. But yeah, there's a certain type, and they're big courses, and if you chunk them down and do a bit at a time, the way they're written, they can be a little bit repetitive. The same messages come in time and time again. There's certain things that will always apply. Whatever technique you're using in NLP, you're there to scramble the submodalities. The majority of what you're doing is subconscious, whatever the technique. So it'll all start to fit together. So when you're embarking on the journey, it seems enormous, but it's actually a lot of fun, and you get a lot from it. And at the end of it, you'll be able to come out, go straight into private practice if you want to, and compete with the best of them. So we've had some incredible sign-offs, haven't we, over the last 3 or 4 months, and we've got a load more coming up. Some are you. So I won't mention any names. You've also got other people's examples on the introductory section of all the courses. So study plans. Some people like to get very detailed, and if it was me, I would be probably dedicating 4 hours a week, 2 sessions of 2 hours every single week. But we've all got different learning styles. So and
timeframes.
And timeframes. So, but do remember, that one of the things about CAM Coach courses are that they are self-paced learning. They're there to be done. They are for busy students, people that have got busy lives, so you can fit it around all the things that you want to, all the other things that are going on. So that's one of the, the big USPs of all of these courses. Okay. I think.
Any other questions? Ella? Yeah, do you want to unmute?
Hello.
Hi, Ella.
How are you guys?
We're all right, thank you. And you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. Can't complain.
Where are you at the moment?
I'm in Norway. I'm in Norway. I've set up a limited company, so I'm going for a company corporate, Mark.
Good stuff.
Well done.
So I thought I would share because I went through this course, and what I realized is that I think it's important to recognize what your own doubts and insecurities and beliefs are. Because when I was getting ready, to come to the practitioner, back to back the practitioner, then 4 weeks gap and the mastery, it was a lot to take in. And before I came, I noticed that, I couldn't focus, and it was a lot of blocks that was coming from the past. And I was putting this pressure, so I couldn't focus. And then Mark did a subshift on me the first day. And what I realized now that I'm back and I've removed that limiting belief, my study pace, I'm just spending so little time, but it's much more effective. So I think discovering what issues or what challenges we have and believe that we have, I really do think that's golden key to, should I say, unleashing your potential power. So I think it's quite important, to be honest. I just want to say thank you, but yeah, I thought I would maybe share this with all of you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Eradicate limiting beliefs.
I mean, also, Ella, you, as you say, you came on a face-to-face course, so the pressure kind of was more on you because you were consolidating all of your learning in such a short space of time, weren't you?
Yeah.
There was probably a lot of consolidation that you did after you'd left the face-to-face and then, you know, thereon.
Yeah, it was quite a lot, but it was amazing. I'm grateful. So I'm thriving, doing well.
Well done. Well done. Any other questions?
Jonathan Dunn, you're very quiet.
He's exhausted.
You thought you'd sneak in there, didn't you?
That's because I am very quiet. I don't have a question, thank you very much. Although
Wow. Okay.
Just a quick question from me. Hayley, will you be able to share the slides, please?
Yes, of course I can. This has been recorded as well. So it's been recorded, but I can absolutely share the slides as well.
Well, I've made loads of notes, but you know that slide that you put up towards the end with the motivational, you know, your whys and all.
Yeah, I'm big on that.
Right in front of me.
Yeah, sure. I'll do you
Good
I
idea.
can do you a slide for yourself if you like, and I'll personalize it to you.
Oh, that would be fabulous. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go to any trouble, but just things like that are quite useful because I've got like a little office environment where I'm working all day at the moment and planning to study little and often, you know, so an hour every day to help retain the information. That's why I put the query on the group yesterday, because I've done quite a bit of work last year, and then work went crazy. Loads of my colleagues were furloughed. The qualification went on the back burner, and then you go back to it and you're like, you know, it's starting again really. So I have made a conscious decision to start again and you know, keep chipping away at it every day to make sure that stuff stays in my head.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, good idea.
Little and often.
Julia, I done the same thing. I started last year and then work got crazy. I struggled to get back into it, but I found the easiest thing to do was what I enjoyed. So I completely skipped the bits I didn't like. Hypnotherapy, I just wasn't getting it. So I did EFT, lifestyle medicine, and all the things that I actually understood. And now I've gone back to hypnotherapy and I found it's just clicked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think where I was doing it in order and expecting to learn it, it just wasn't happening. I was just demotivating myself because I was stuck and I just wasn't getting out of stuck. So I just skipped the whole thing and went to EFT, which I really enjoyed. And I've done it all out the way, then moved on to the next one, and it's now clicked. And I've gone back to hypnotherapy. I'm reading the book, and now it all made sense. Everything that I've learned has all come back to me.
Okay. No, that's really good, Misha. Thank you for that. So just
okay.
jump around the content if you like, and sort of.
I just feel like, you know, don't stay stuck. When you stay stuck, you don't progress. So if you go on to something that you enjoy, like I felt good today as well. Like I felt really motivated because I sent my essays off and I feel like I've got somewhere finally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, and also, yeah, like you said, you posted something on Facebook. Oh, if you do have a stuck day, just have a rant on Facebook because the group are supportive. Everybody is really supportive, and you all carry each other, and that's what we set the Facebook group up for. So you know, what one person might find really easy, someone else might find really difficult, and you know that you can give advice to one another. It works really well as a collaboration, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people will view. So this all goes onto the platform, and then all the other people that couldn't be here right now will view it, and they'll see your comments, and then they'll all get stuck in and help each other out. They're brilliant.
Yeah.
So
actually, Hayley, you could put your slides as a file on the Facebook group. So I think that's what Bobby Joe did with one of her previous as well. There's like a files section. If you can't, send it to me and I'll upload it.
No problem. I'll give it a go tonight.
Okay.
So sorry, another quick question.
Yeah, go for it, Julia.
Once I got started, just based on what Misha said, because I've never joined any of the Zoom calls before, because it's been on subjects that are a bit further on in the course, which I haven't got to yet. So I thought maybe joining the Zoom calls might be more confusing. So would you recommend just jumping onto the calls whenever, because it's all just quite
Jason's like, yes.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, although the subject matter may not, like you say, be where you've got to, sometimes we offer subject matter in things that aren't even in the course, but it creates discussion, and it can sort of open up lots of different areas of thought, which can then aid with your studying and your practice and so on. So yeah, I would certainly, well, I'm biased, aren't I, but I'd certainly recommend everybody to come on the Zooms. I mean, obviously Monday nights aren't always suitable for everyone.
You've also got the opportunity. So now is a perfect example. I know Athol wants to ask a question, but we're in a situation where we're running early, so you know, the open floor, and you can ask whatever you like. So it's a kind of get your questions answered by other people. It's
not always. I mean, we try to do a presentation each time, but we always try and also allow a discussion time as well. Yeah. So if you have got any questions about anything to do with your studying and your course, that's a good time to sort of put them out there.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, Athol wanted to ask something.
Where's Atol's not on the call?
He's there.
Atol's not here.
Oh, he's not here. I've got the wrong glass. I've got the wrong glasses on.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, it was Kieran.
Oh, is it me? Hello.
You look a bit like Athol.
Oh, do I? I don't know if that's good or bad.
Oh no, it's definitely good. It's definitely.
Looking at the wrong screen. Go for it, Kieran.
Hi everybody. Thanks for that. I just wanted to ask a question, but then just before I do that, just to kind of follow on from what something Julie just said about the calls. I mean, I'm really new, so I joined my first call last week, Julia, and that was all. I felt like I'd skipped to the end because Mark was talking about, you know, when you finish and you start setting up your business. But I found that extremely helpful because it was just really interesting to hear that. It really motivated me even more so than I already am. So, you know, I'm definitely planning on joining the calls whenever I can and catching up on the ones that are recorded as well. So, but my question is, so I just wanted to know, where do people, when should I start thinking about planning my assignments and dissertations and make a start on those? Because for me, I'm loving everything at the moment. I'm really enjoying all the learning. I love all of it. But the scariest part for me is looking at a blank piece of paper and then starting that, you know, like it is for all of us, I guess, starting that dissertation.
Okay, so the dissertations are, most people, okay, will put them to one side and they won't complete them straight away. They'll either complete them as they go through the course and learn different things, or at the end. Okay, but it's entirely up to you. But that's what most people do, and they do carry a lot of marks, you know, in the assessment process. So it's up to you. It depends how you know, you might want to get them done and out of the way, but you're going to do a lot of learning as you go through the course, and you're going to find that you're you know, you're going to learn new stuff, and you'll probably want to change your dissertation. So most people do it either at the end or towards the end, and they do use there's lots of examples of dissertations on the different sections, and the only things that from our perspective as tutors that we mark are the two big dissertations, when you write scripts and you do the smaller written work on EFT, hypno and lifestyle medicine, that's marked. But the case studies really are for you to practice, and we just have a look at them. No, there are the dissertations. I would if it was me, I would leave to the end. or towards the end?
Okay, then. Yeah, that makes sense actually, because then I can concentrate on the learning and absorbing all of that, and then yeah, that makes sense, and that's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't know if anyone else has got any tips.
Yeah. Well, Jason and Matthew.
Monica's got her hand up.
Oh, go with Monica, and then we'll go to Jonathan.
Okay, I would say yes, definitely leave the dissertation to the end. But as you're going along, you already know what your dissertation should contain. So just make little bullet points on it, bullet point notes for your dissertation. So when you come to actually write it in full, you've got those helpful tips already there for you that are pertinent to you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Monica. What I've started to do is I'm very visual, but I'm going through the study material, doing my notes, but highlighting then what I think I'm going to want to include in my dissertation, and doing that in my books as well. Yeah. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll just go to Jonathan. You had your hand up, Jonathan. Just need to unmute your mic.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Just
there we go. There we are.
Giving me the symbol and not allowing it. I just wanted to add the study buddy thing actually, because I'm a pre-pants study buddy, but I know quite well that the value of study buddying, if you can commit to it, is amazing. And I just pulled up something while we were talking. Now I'm probably going to miserably fail to share screen, or share screen I really shouldn't share because I'm still in theory at work. And I'd just like to point out the bottom of the pyramid in study buddies. And if you can get organized enough with study buddies, and when I've done this and been at my most effective is when we've all taken a topic to take the lead on, because we remember so much more when we teach each other.
Yes.
Enough said.
Well done.
Brilliant.
Right, Jonathan.
Very good.
Agree.
Yeah.
Would you share that, please, Jonathan? I was just about to take a photo of it on screen, but I didn't get there.
I'll try and share it in the group chat. I may fail, but I'll give it a go.
Okay, thank you.
Right, any other tips, tricks, questions?
Ella again, I think.
Yes, go for it, Ella.
Yes, Mark. Yes, so what helped me is actually I do walks either mostly with my sister. So what I do is I try to teach her, and I allow her to ask as much question as she wants to if she doesn't understand anything. So that helped a lot. And then eventually I discovered how that's actually strong. Memory stored much better when we do that. So when I do speed walk, I basically teach her what I've learned. So when Jonathan said it's spot on.
That's true.
Matt, maybe we'll do our next study session on a walk then via Facebook.
We could do that. We can do that.
Coordinator.
That's not a bad shout, actually. Just to add to that as well, actually, I found as well that my learning times are different. I don't know if anyone else has found the same thing, but I found the mornings weirdly good for me. Sometimes I get out of bed an hour or two early just to study. I've been known to get up at 5:30 in the morning before work to put some studying time in. I've regretted it by the end of work, mind you, but it's been good focused time. All like this morning, I woke up a little bit early, but not early enough to get into anything. So I just picked up a book I'm reading at the moment. So I'm reading the EFT book, the Sylvia Hartman book. I just spent half an hour reading that. So I thought I can either go back to sleep, I can get a cup of tea and do something useless, or I could just lie here with a book. So sometimes it's just finding those little moments that you hadn't planned that are added time and just taking them and using them, and they can be really. I found them to be really, really valuable. Evenings don't work so well for me, I've learned. There's too much around with the family and stuff, and they want me around. So, but mornings for me work really well, and Sunday afternoons they seem to be my key learning time. So just work out what your learning time is really, and make the most of it. And then just on the dissertations, just really, I think Jason said earlier, really chunk them down, because they can look really daunting when you first start. And everyone I've looked at, I always have a panic before I start it. think I've done 4 or 5 now. I still go through the same mental process every time. I haven't learned. But by chunking it down section by section by section, you kind of take away the sting of the size of it, and you can just focus on the topics in at hand, and then build it up gradually until you've got one document. I find that's really, really useful as well.
Another really good tip, Matthew, for dissertations is to just take the brief, so copy and paste the brief, and then follow the brief as headers.
Yeah.
If you follow the brief, you're gonna that's where all the marks are.
Yes, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Actually, taking the headers and then using those to structure it. And then the other thing I'd say is when you read the example dissertation, I've almost fallen into this trap. Be careful, because they're really useful to give you a flavour of what to write in structure. But you can, if you're not careful, lift it and shift it without realising. Just be careful to make sure that once you've read it and understood it, put it to one side. Use it for a bit of influence and what have you, but don't. Be mindful that you're not lifting and shifting the content by accident, because that's really easy to do if you're not careful.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good.
Another study tip as well that I didn't mention was when you go through the reading list and you want to purchase any books, I bought the majority of mine secondhand, so you can see this is a bit yellow, but it's still good. And I got them all off Amazon, but they've got a section that says used or new. And instead of paying $14.99 for this book, I only paid £6 because I wanted to buy all the books. And it is just a guided reading list. You don't have to buy all the books, but it's a really top tip to know that you can either go on World of Books or Amazon used and new and grab yourself as many books as you can to refer to and to read, because they contain an awful lot more about different subjects, and it's just really handy to have these books because you're going to learn more as well.
Sometimes the second-hand ones are great as well because people annotate them. So you read all their notes in the margins and you're like, oh God, that's a really good point.
That's it. It's a Tony Robbins one, Unlimited Power. And the person who had it before me has written all their goals in this part.
Oh, brilliant. There's a few of them.
See what people have highlighted. Yeah, it's interesting when you get them secondhand. But I just thought that was a tip to share, that you don't have to buy them brand new.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Definitely.
Just be careful when but I think secondhand are great, but just be careful now because of COVID.
Give it a good spray with sanitizer. Get the Dettol out.
Don't
leave it for a few days. Good point. Okay, well, I think we're nearly, we're just over the hour. Just before you go, we are doing our next Zoom in 2 weeks' time on the 22nd of March. Monica, do you want to just give everybody a bit of a idea about what you're going to be covering?
Yes, I'm going to be doing a presentation on pet bereavement. It's something that not only is very dear to me, but is also very much needed. And nobody really realizes that when somebody loses a pet, which becomes really a part of the family and is a very dear family member, when that family member dies, what the owners go through is really very traumatic and distressing. And so I'm going to be doing a presentation on that, which is going to preempt, because one of the courses that I will be writing is on pet bereavement. So it's something that could be of interest to you if you wanted to become a pet bereavement counsellor, because that's what it's about, and it's very much needed.
Great. We look forward to that on the 22nd of March, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just before the Easter.
When's Easter?
Early April.
Oh.
Yeah, early April. I think it's the very end of March. So I think after the 22nd of March, we're going to have a 2-week break or so. Let me just check, and then we come back. Yeah, 22nd of March, and then we'll be back on the 12th of April with Habit Breakers with Bobby Joe.
Excellent.
So, and then the one after that will be Mark. doing websites and SEO.
Oh, I get all the exciting stuff.
So we're trying to vary it up so everybody gets a little bit of something. So tonight was more focusing on the students, but the graduates always have lots of words of wisdom. So thank you, graduates, for sharing your experiences with everybody, because you've trodden the path before and you've lived to tell the tale. You're still here. Right, well, if everyone's finished, I don't think there's any more questions.
Thanks very much, Hayley.
Thank you very much, Hayley. That was really good. I hope that
Well
helps
done.
with you.
Thank you.
Break things down. Anyway, have a good couple of weeks, everyone, and
Okay.
we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.